There we go. Now we're live on a Sunday night. For those of you that will tune in and everybody else listening on the podcast, likely Monday, I tracked down Bill Boyle. He's in D.C., where it's all going down, maybe, in terms of a government shutdown agreement. Bill, thank you for joining me on a Sunday night. There's a lot that I want to talk with you about, but there is this kind of breaking news story that the log jam may have broken, and the narrative is that Democrats have caved to Republicans. You do not agree with this narrative, and neither do most House Democrats, and so it's not done. But Politico is reporting the Senate has reached a deal on ending the shutdown. And we can talk about the broad outlines of it, but basically the Senate poised to vote Sunday night to advance the House passed stopgap, which will later become the vehicle for a larger funding deal. And as part of the Democrats' agreement to end the shutdown, the Senate Majority Leader John Thune is promising Senate Democrats a vote in December to extend the affordable care subsidies that are due to expire at the end of the year. Short of congressional action, Democrats will also get to determine what extension bill gets a vote. It doesn't seem like a very good deal. Brian Beutler is pissed. He's one of the smartest guys I know. You respect him a lot. He doesn't understand. Schumer and Dems are about to teach Trump the lesson that they'll cave whenever he abuses power to sufficiently hurt people. That seems like a pretty tough sentiment to disagree with, but I think you do. Go ahead. Hi.
How are you? Yeah, I think that people really need to get out of the momentary, immediate reaction to things that have happened, as if that's the whole story. And every day is the day that Trump figures out he's a bad guy who can use the force of his office. I mean, I love Brian Beutler. I think he's great. But Trump already knows that he can coerce things out of the body politic by using the power of the executive branch. He already knows this. This is not new. This is not our Munich in any way. And I think that a way to kind of explain why it is both a bigger deal than people think and less of a big deal than people think is that these subsidies were put through during COVID because people weren't working. And these subsidies were to help people pay for their health care during the COVID emergency. Okay. They got renewed, or they got basically the expiration date got pushed back a bit from the IRA Act under Biden. Now, I'm in favor of keeping these subsidies permanently, but everybody who doesn't realize that the bill with a sunset provision was written by Democrats and passed by Democrats and was always supposed to end. And not realizing that, the Republicans have really made a hash of this argument. The Republicans should be out there every day saying this is a Democratic bill. They were the ones who set the date for it to expire. They renewed it one time because Biden said he wanted to do that, which led to inflation and everything else. But this is a Democratic bill written this way by Democrats with an expiration date for these subsidies. Now, the Republicans are being absolute morons in their political handling of this because they're not really saying that, which is amazing.
I've heard them say it.
But they're not doing it in a way that's catching at all. And it's rare that you hear that in the discourse in the media or anything else. And so where we're at right now is that the Republicans are in the incredibly unenviable position of they don't extend the subsidies, they don't continue them. Even though the Democrats wrote the bill that way to make it happen, the Democrats aren't going to take the blame for that because there's going to be a vote. It's, by the way, the Democrats get to pick the bill to vote on for this. So there's still going to be a vote where Republicans are going to be on record saying no more ACA. And the average person is not going to go, oh, those Democrats folded and that's what happened. Republicans can vote for these subsidies. And by the way, it is splitting their caucus, right? It's a wedge issue for Democrats among the Republican caucus. Now, we don't control the government. We don't control the White House. We don't control the Congress or the Supreme Court or anything else. So at some point, there had to be a deal, right? And I will tell you, like something that people aren't talking about, the Association of Federal Government Employees, the union that represents federal workers, they're in favor of this deal. Well, and when the unions start to get
why would that be surprising? All they want is to make sure their employees are taken care of and get paid. I'm not sure why
that's not surprising, but it's important Because for a lot of U.S. senators, when the unions start to get happy feet and get worried, U.S. senators go, okay, huge constituency I can't ignore. And I have to deal with this. I have to do something about it. And I think that that's what people don't really get is there are a ton of unions that want this deal done and that they want their employees back to work. It's not just unions, by the way. It's the airline employees union. I'm sorry, it's not just government unions. It's airport employee unions. Transportation unions. All these people are getting pretty badly hurt. And I will tell you, given the business I'm in the transportation business, and I'm in DC. I'm seeing how badly people are getting hurt. And it's very easy if you're on Blue Sky. And by the way, I'm explicitly not including Brian Beutler in this because I know he understands this. But there's a lot of people on Blue Sky who are, kind of going like, we should just keep doing this forever if we need to. They're not starving and they can't. I have a lot of my customers that cannot pay me. They cannot pay me, but they still have to go to work and drive downtown every day and go to work and do everything. And they're literally like, Mr. Boyle, could you hold off?
You make your
employees my credit card until I can actually afford it.
You make your employees call you Mr. Boyle?
No, this is customers calling me.
Oh, so you're talking about the reaction in Blue Sky. Here are some of the reactions. I think I'm sharing my screen here with people watching, but here are some of the reactions. I'll read them from Congressmen, Democrats in the House, Kristen McDonald-Rivet. MAGA forced a healthcare affordability crisis on Michigan families. After $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts and gutting the ACA, insurance premiums are out of control. People can't get basic care. We urgently need a bipartisan, this one's long,
budget with real solutions.
Budget with real solutions to fix these costs and open the government. I remain steady to working on it, but caving without healthcare solutions would fail countless working families who are struggling to get by. Seth Moulton, I won't support a shutdown deal that fails to extend ACA subsidies that make healthcare more affordable for working Americans. Democrats have fought hard to protect working families. Caving now makes no sense. Pramaya Jayapal, caving on a deal that doesn't fix healthcare is and always has been a giant betrayal of the American people. Hold the line, save healthcare. I'm a no on anything that doesn't extend ACA subsidies. Also should be mentioned that while they might get a vote in December, the House won't vote on it or will vote against it. And so they're not going to get it. I think you react to that by saying, well, yeah, and then they'll get blamed for it. But let me read two more.
Politics for Democrats.
Malcolm Kenyatta, any deal that ends with Dems just getting a pinky promise to return is a mistake. The American people are suffering because Republicans refuse to stop healthcare costs from skyrocketing. An agreement that doesn't fix that reality fails massively short. Richie Torres, if this is a so-called deal, then I will be a no. That's not a deal. It's an unconditional surrender that abandons the 24 million Americans whose healthcare premiums are about to double. It's going to be more than that, by the way. It's like anybody paying healthcare.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? All of those folks, they are responding in the politics that is perfect for them to do it. And honestly, I think that I'm not sitting here going, how dare people be mad about it or how dare they make political hay of it? I love it that all of those congressmen are saying that. That's great because it's good politics for Democrats, except that they sort of pretend that if they were not in Angus King's shoes, they wouldn't have different politics on this. There are, this attitude that there's sort of one right vote for every Democrat and that it's always Democrats are worse than anybody at it always being Democrats' fault. And they never kind of look at this idea that the politics of this are really powerful. And Trump has already been beaten to death on his polling on this. It's already weakened Trump in ways like, for instance, he told the Senate, Republican Senate, you have to change the rules in the filibuster. And Thune said, nope. Now, are we supposed to get the idea, or is Trump supposed to believe that he is all powerful because of this deal? He's already been told multiple ways, multiple times on how he wanted this to work out. And his preferred solution, both on the filibuster and also to just make direct payments, got blown out of the water. So the idea that this is some sort of, this is really pretty normal politics. And that's kind of what I really reject is the attitude that, as you know, I think Trump is a wannabe dictator. This is not that. This is fairly normal politics where when one side doesn't control any of the branches, this is the kind of thing that happens. And Democrats have won this issue really greatly, enormously. What happened on Tuesday, and I know we'll talk about Tuesday's election last week. What happened on Tuesday was to a great degree supercharged by this. Democrats got more points and won more places because of this issue. So the point being, like, Trump he has not gotten away with coercing everyone. Number one. Number two, he has paid a price politically. I think it has really changed the narrative about him greatly now. And I think that Democrats sort of need to like book the win. You got pretty much what you're going to get out of it. And you should say, hey, you know what? Fuck it. Okay, this sucks, but we're going to get this vote. And I would now spend, instead of screaming at Chuck Schumer, who, by the way, is voting no on it himself, but Schumer can count. And he saw the number of senators going down on the Dem side who would vote against it. And so Schumer, everyone acts as if like Schumer dropped the ball here. Schumer can't stop Fetterman from voting whatever way he wants to vote.
He can. They do.
No, he can't. He cannot. Schumer has no coercive power over folks. And the idea that like
that's his whole job.
It's not his job. His job is to create a caucus that they jawbone themselves and each other into agreeing on things. But if members want to go and vote for something that Schumer doesn't want them to, at best he can like help somebody run against them in the next primary. But he doesn't have coercive power. And the idea that he somehow did this is really bizarre. It just ignores the political realities of it. And again, that sort of gets like what bothers me mostly is all this energy expended, all this bullshit about screaming about Schumer or how Democrats always fail. And it's sky is falling rhetoric, and it's really dumb. And by the way, a big thing that's going to happen, the House has to vote on this, which means the House is going to come back into session, and Mike Johnson's going to have to swear in Grijalva.
As a reason to end the government shutdown?
To end the shutdown, the House is going to have a vote. They're going to have to be pulled back into session.
Why would he have to bring her in?
Well, because she won her election, and he has been saying, well, I haven't sworn her in because we haven't been in session. As soon as they're in session, she shows up, he will have to swear her in. And guess what that gets us?
How come we haven't been talking about that as a part of whenever this ends, she'd be sworn in, and then the next day's story, by the way, would be.
Now you know why. Now you know why my perspective on this is different. That's the first thing I thought about.
You're sure about that? That she would be sworn in, and then that discharge petition would be voted on immediately.
Correct.
So you're saying that within the next few days, all eyes are going to be on the Epstein files.
I think it's very likely within a couple of weeks. Johnson, I'm sure, has other tricks up his sleeve to try and slow it down. But chances are, yes, that's going to happen real soon now.
Punch Bowl is saying, I think this is Punch Bowl saying this. I'm not sure who's saying this. I can't quite read how this is working over at the Midas Touch website, but they're saying it will be the end of Schumer.
It might be, but that's just because everyone's blaming him for it. It's not because it's necessarily the true or right thing.
It'll also be the end of Schumer. If Democrats don't replace him as leader, as soon as this fails, the voters will eventually. It will also be impossible to win a contested Democratic primary without pledging to vote against Chuck Schumer as leader. But if by some miracle ACA passes the House and Senate subsidies, the ACA subsidies pass the House and Senate, are signed into law by Trump, Schumer will be a hero, but I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah, I don't know who wrote that. I don't know whether.
I'm sorry, I'm not getting an attribution. I think it's from Punch Bowl. Right.
I'm not sure I buy that, honestly. Right. And again, this is total heat of the moment, Democratic freak out time, right? And the hilarious thing is, this is a week after we just absolutely destroyed the Republicans in the special elections. Do people think that like the world is ending on Sunday, that when everything was completely rosy on Wednesday morning? It's just a ridiculous thing. And,
well, hold on.
And again, just to reiterate, Schumer can't control this. If 8 of his members say we're going to vote for the deal with Thune, that's it. Schumer can't do anything about that.
That's right. But that's not necessarily going to be the perception across the country.
I agree. He'll get blamed for it. And I don't even like Schumer. But it's ridiculous the way people talk about this stuff.
I think the general conventional reaction I've seen is that the Democrats don't know how to win, because on Tuesday they won big, and on Sunday they caved, like they didn't use. And then there's a lot of other, people saying that the reason, as you did, the reason why Democrats won was because of partially, certainly in maybe Virginia, because all those federal workers out of work or whatever, was because of the shutdown, or partially because of the shutdown. You just said that. And yet, after learning that, they're then going to cave.
Well, that's actually, I said something a little different. I said it's supercharged their win.
We win Tuesday, Michael Klatsky says in the chat, and so the rest of our friends in the stand-up listening community, we win Tuesday because we were standing up against the Republicans. If we cave now, it's betrayal.
Yeah, I think that's absurd.
And then everybody else is reacting to you saying in normal times, that basically saying these are not normal times.
But see, that's just it, though. Normal politics still exists to a great degree, even in a authoritarian distortion like we're in now. It doesn't go away. And the thing that, like, the super, what do you call it, Pete? You had a term for it, for the people who call into a radio show that you're like, they were A1s or something. The people who are like really engaged.
It's like P1 is a
P1s, right? Yeah. Everyone reacting to this is a P1.
You're a P1. That's why you're here. You called into my radio show.
Right. But my point is, all these people losing their minds over it. That's because they're P1s. The average voter is they're gonna hear, oh, the Democrats, the shutdown ended. Finally, I can fly again, by the way. And my Thanksgiving isn't gonna be totally screwed up. And my uncle can go back to his job at the National Park Service. A lot of people can feel a lot of relief over this. And the vast majority of them are not going to be at their desk chewing the rug saying, oh my God, the Democrats always fail. They're going to say things got better because the Democrats negotiated with Trump. And then when the Republicans almost certainly blow off the ACA vote and it loses, Democrats then get to spend from then until the midterms saying, look what they took away from you. The politics of it are obvious. And it's just people get really childlike over this stuff, and it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. And now, that being said, I want people engaged and angry and whatever. That's going to help us. But I think that people need to be more realistic about how these things work.
Kevin says Democrats will not win the midterms if they cave today.
Okay, what are we betting?
That's very confident. Whenever Bill does that, then you just know whatever he's about to say is going to be he's got quite a hand, at least in terms of his argument. I think one reason why people don't understand, well, none of us, uncertainty reigns, but where we're at this time next year, or November next year, October next year, we won't be talking about a government shutdown. We'll be talking about, as always, the prices of things, which is probably something we should talk about now.
If the Republicans are stupid enough not to get the subsidies through, that discussion gets turbocharged even more than it already is.
Because the prices of healthcare go up, and they will get the blame.
That will be the noxious cherry on top of the Trump sundae. And again, if you're looking at things in a very cold-eyed, I wouldn't say cynical, but to my cold-eyed look at this, that's great for Democrats. It's great for democracy.
All right, so that's the government shutdown part of our conversation. There are two other things I definitely wanted to ask you about, and anything else that we have time for. But the first is, what do the results of Tuesday's elections mean for the Democratic Party? And we can talk about what they mean for the Republican Party too, but I want to talk larger, what is going on with the Republican Party. I have an argument that I've been making for the past few days that they're in disarray for a lot of reasons. The government shutdown, prices going up, Trump's lowest approval rating. And I think, and I'm watching it fairly closely, there's a bit of a civil war in the MAGA right, or the modern day Republican Party. And it's being led by a young Christian white supremacist. I don't call him a Nazi, because I just think it's more important to say that he is a overt white supremacist. He's an anti-Semite.
He is an American thing. He's an American phenomenon.
And basically, he is making the Republican Party all the way up and down, electeds, and more importantly, the most influential YouTube, radio, all them, decide if they're going to go full hoods off and join this kid, Nick Fuentes, or if they're going to reject him and denounce him. And when they do, by the way, he does a show about it the next day, and his viewers and listeners love it. And I just have a lot of thoughts about it. Let's just start there because, and then we'll go back to Mamdani's win and the Democrats and what that means. Just let's talk about Nick Fuentes and the Republican Party. He goes on with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson kisses the ring. This guy, Kevin Roberts at the Heritage Foundation, also basically looks like he's siding with Nick Fuentes, but then has to apologize 3 times. Nick Fuentes is crushing this guy, Mark Levin, who's a pretty powerful right-wing talker, has Trump's ear, and he's more aligned with Steve Bannon probably than any other influential talker. I think this is a huge deal, and I don't think it's going anywhere. And I think the Epstein files matter too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the obvious thing that's happening here is with all, Western European style authoritarian movements, sooner or later they come after the Jews. And the reason for that is that they are populist movements based upon rural voters and small business people, basically. And it's easy for those folks to look at elites like you or me and think and see that a fair chunk of what they think of as the elites are Jewish or not from the US or highly educated. And it's so easy to just for them to just slide right into it's the Jews are controlling this. Go to Harvard, look at all the Jews there. Go to Wall Street, look at all the Jews there, that kind of thing. And I think that what's happening in the GOP is just basically the pretty normal slide into that you could see happening in any kind of movement like this. I think it's got a limit because there just is too much going against someone like Nick Fuentes, and his power in the Republican Party is the marginal power. It's a very Trump light version. 75% of Republicans, if they sat down and listened to this guy talk, would be like, "Who is this little weirdo?" And that was kind of what's ironic about it. Is Fuentes rants against the elites and against, he says horrendously racist things about Vance's wife, about Black people, about pretty much everybody. But his effect or his niche is really also an elite thing. He's not out there raising millions of dollars and signing up millions of voters. He has a show where he talks about Vance to Tucker Carlson. Like he is in a niche where he is talking to other elites, in effect, other powerfully propagated media figures.
Okay, finish your point because I'm not sure.
So my point is that it's an interesting thing because he is not Charlie Kirk, but he appeals to Charlie Kirk's staff. That's the problem, and it's a thing that if you talk to people in DC and who have context.
He's not Charlie Kirk. I think that the disparity you're pointing to is Kirk was the most effective, one of the most effective organizers, going around the country, signing people up, getting emails, raising money for campaigns,
doing political footwork.
His organization was one of the most powerful organizations in the MAGA movement and the Republican movement. Yeah. Especially bringing in a lot of young people. Fuentes isn't doing that kind of organizing, running around, doing debates, getting emails, and yet he still matters a great deal.
Yeah, he has power because he's effectively basically a Republican Code Pink.
Right? Oh, I do not think so.
I do, because I'll tell you something. Name an election that he affected in any significant way.
I don't think he has yet. Listen, I don't think he's done anything yet. I'm not sure what predictions I'm making, but I've always held strongly to the belief, and I think you do too. I don't think this is some original idea, but I think I'm biased by my role and viewing of right-wing media so closely over my whole career. That view, which is right-wing media leads the electeds from top to bottom, from local to state to federal, and including in many ways Trump. And I would argue that the Republican base has always been super racist, super anti-Semitic, super sexist, and super anti-LGBT. And this guy is allowing for them to be that in a way.
He's providing a permission structure. He's to say the things that they would not say on camera before.
For sure, but Well, of course, Trump opened the floodgate for that and proves it. And also should be mentioned, they've hung out, Trump and Fuentes. He hasn't exactly denounced him. And more importantly, it would seem Nick Fuentes is creating a litmus test. And I think part of the appeal, a big part of it, has to do with Israel and his argument that Republicans who support Israel are not America first. And it's a dumb but easy binary to create, and I think it's effective.
So he has 1 million viewers on Twitter, apparently, or people that follow him. I'm sure there's some chunk of that, or people who hate follow him too. But I still think that I think the real issue with him is the permission structure, that he gets these conversations out there in the world that Republicans then have to contend with. But I will say this, though. I think he hurts the Republicans more than he helps them on every possible score.
I think he hurts Republicans.
Yeah.
I don't think he helps them at all. I think
even in the sense of like, will they take over the Republican Party? They won't, because but they will like lead to people like Schmidt, the Senator Schmidt in Missouri, saying this kind of weird fascist bullshit, and Mike Lee saying weird and terrible things. And for the Republicans, it's a huge issue, because what's happening is Fuentes is pushing incredibly racist bullshit into the Republican mainstream only. And the staffers, the younger kids at places like Heritage, are like 30 to 40% groypers. Now people go, oh my God, the establishment.
Groypers are people who follow and support this kid we're talking about.
Right. And the problem Republicans are going to have, it was sort of like if Eugene McCarthy kids had been 30 or 40% of the Democratic Party in DC in the 70s, which, by the way, there were so many super liberal people in Democratic politics who were younger in the 70s and 80s. Did the Democrats get significantly more liberal? Not really. And I think that what it does is it pulls the party away from being realistically good at what they're supposed to do, which is to persuade people, and not just their niche, not just the MAGA guy sitting in his trailer park in Alabama, but they've got to start like pulling suburban moms, and they have to start pulling Latinos. And this will get to what the outcome of the election on Tuesday was. But all of the gains that Trump gained with Latinos in 2020 were not just erased, they got worse, doubly worse. So in other words, wherever he was up 15 with Latinos, he was down 30 on Tuesday. And it's because of this stuff. It's the obvious racism. What did George Bush's senior's political guide, Lee Atwater, he said you have to stop saying the N-word. So instead you start talking about busing, right? You can't support, you can't say I believe in segregation, but you can push money into private schools.
Yeah,
and that was wisdom, though. Lee Atwater was really fucked up, but that was the smart move. The smart move was you paper this stuff over and you code it, and then you can sell it to middle America.
Right.
That's doing the opposite of that. He is dredging up all the slime and throwing it at the camera. And I'm telling you, like, this last election cycle shows incredibly stupid.
To be clear, maybe I wasn't. I think we're saying the same thing, but Nick Fuentes is dividing in a big part the movement, and that is a good thing. Hoods off is also a good thing, because the Lee Atwater strategy, and the strategy that Republican pundits and others have had for a long time, is some aspect of code, of the whistle. You know what I'm talking about? Wink, wink. It's and now it's literally bringing back Confederate statues and named streets and getting rid of Black history. It's so many other things, but specifically, just to be clear, like, I wish I had all the quotes in front of me. And it's been even more interesting to listen to him in context. But Nick Fuentes and plenty of others now, Charlie Kirk especially, just disparaging Black Americans in the most like blatant ways, or gay Americans or Jews. I mean, he's just saying it over and over. There's no coding. There's none of it. And so what that means is the Republicans are going to have to either denounce that or line up with it. And that's good.
Yeah, it is good. And I will tell you this, though. I think it also it creates gigantic strategic problems for them because Nick Fuentes has never turned and never will turn a general election. But Republicans just have to deal with this shit now in every primary, right? It affects everything they do. They have to think about with their fundraising. Do you have Jewish donors? Do they give you any money if you let anyone, do they find out that your staffers were on? Remember the chat that just came out a month ago in New York with all the Republican staffers talking about just heinous racism and whatever. And that's going to be the Republican norm now. Their staffers are going to just be hellish and give Democrats pretty much endless evidence that for normal Americans who are, slightly complected or have a gay brother or whatever, that Republicans are just, I think it's, cold politically, I think it's great for Democrats because these guys are just going to tear their own party apart. And by the way, the only thing that's keeping them together right now is Trump. When Trump goes, all bets are off. And something about this too that's interesting. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is absolutely the worst, but I don't think her political instincts are bad.
No.
And guess what she's doing right now?
Running for president.
Well, no, she's out there going, Grijalva should be sworn in. Nick Fuentes is scum. People need to chill out and stop being so. I couldn't believe it. She said people need to chill out and stop being so nasty to each other over politics. Now, when Marjorie Taylor Greene starts doing that, she's reading the tea leaves and saying this shit's deadly.
Well, a lot of other and Eric Swalwell said 35, 40 Republicans will vote to release the Epstein files because they all are reading the same tea leaves. And this is going to be very bad for Trump. I'm super curious. I think it's the most important thing. By the way, when I talk about hoods off and the kind of shit that they're saying openly, Dr. Will Judy in the chat said, as Malcolm X said, I'd rather deal with a wolf than a fox. Yeah, and exactly is the point, and better said by plenty of people, the thing I was trying to explain and call hoods off.
Yeah.
But that's the point. We can see it. We can see them for exactly who they are without having to like. I like the idea that you take a quote from Nick Fuentes, some super racist or sexist or anti-LGBT or quote, and you share it with whether it be your Republican conservative friend or an elected Republican, Mike Lawler in my case, my congressman, and say, what do you think about this? And then he has to denounce it. And guess what that means, by the way? It means that much of his base denounces him because they're racist as fuck, and they always have been.
Yeah. It becomes, for them, it becomes a reverse litmus test. Are you going to let somebody be canceled? That's the big thing.
It's not just, the other thing is forget about racism. The anti-Semitism is really important too, because you have a lot of people who like to talk about that they aren't anti-Semitic or they support Israel, which they always conflate with, supporting Jews. Well, they're going to have to answer for Nick Fuentes' anti-Semitism.
That's right.
And by the way, weird thing about it is apparently he's gay.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%.
He does it in a wink way. He does it in the talk with Tucker Carlson. He goes, because you saw me at this gay bar, which, doesn't mean anything at all. Like he said that. I don't think he's ever openly admitted to being gay, but he tongue in cheek admits that he's gay, it seems.
Or he there's some gay influencer who says he hooked up with them, and I believe it completely.
That's all but the thing, just to be clear, is he also toes a line of very pro his brand of white Christian nationalism, very pro Christianity, Jesus, his version of Jesus.
Yeah. He does it in the way that Hitler did it. Hitler was constantly talking about God and providence. Is that it's almost not even religious though in the way they use it. It's just a marker and an identifier, and that's it. There's no Christianity in Nick Fuentes at all. It's just a way to appeal to the kind of people who hate Black people.
All right, so I think that concludes the part of our conversation regarding the Republican Party's status. We didn't really talk about the effects of all the other things happening, including what's happening in the economy, or let's just do that real quick. The Supreme Court looks like they are going to rule against him when it comes to tariffs. I'm not sure when that ruling would come. Would we have to wait till June?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it'll be that long because there is a
Imminent.
significant issue they have to
Yep.
deal with, which is, are we giving the money back or not? And the
Um,
longer they wait to make the decision, the more billions of dollars are at stake in that
right,
conversation.
right. So if anything's an emergency, which is what he's claiming the power to create these tariffs for, it would be the decision being made
Yep.
imminent to create certainty in markets and et cetera. But every Supreme Court watcher, I didn't watch the arguments. Doesn't matter if I did. Who gives a shit about my opinion? As always, I'm going to reference the opinion of experts. And if you aggregate them, the consensus is overwhelmingly that the court is going to rule against this. Not surprising because they're Republicans in robes and they are all pro free market trade. And this is, it's so, the antithesis of this, which is why a lot of Republicans are against it. You saw Scott Besson out there, really spinning this week more than else. He had to admit that things are bad in the economy for a lot of people. And so what does that do to the Republican Party? What does the tariff thing mean politically or economically?
Well, I think number one, it's another defeat for Trump. And I think that's important. It's important that there be this sort of drumbeat of him being limited, being shut down, being forced to make deals with people and institutions. So that I think is that's the biggest thing. Now, the other authorities, I think it's the 531 or something authorities, there are other authorities that they can use to do tariffs. The tariffs won't go away. It's just a more laborious process to do tariffs if they want to use the other authorities that are out there, and there'll be lawsuits over those, and maybe those go away too. But tariffs will become harder to do. Again, this just underlines how bad they are, right? And it does hurt Trump. I mean, it does, just to lose any. And again, this sort of project is based. His project in the White House is based upon just ramming through things, and try to create like so much momentum that he can do whatever the hell he wants to. So every time he loses on something substantive, it knocks them down. It creates more friction. It makes it harder for him to sort of crystallize a real authoritarian government. And so I think it's a big deal. I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's going to be any good at all for the economy, unfortunately, because I think it's just going to. Things are sort of set, and the damage that was being done isn't going to just snarl itself overnight. It's going to take years to get out of the situation he's put us in. But I think it'll be a defeat for him. I do think it'll be closer than people think. I think that Kavanaugh is probably, I listened to the whole argument. I think Kavanaugh is wishy-washy about it. I think Amy Coney Barrett and Gorsuch are probably pretty solidly on the right score. But again, I would not put it past them to give Trump some sort of punt, right? Where they don't.
The court giving the administration,
like doing something like saying, okay, we are shooting down these tariffs, but you don't have to return the money that's already been collected. Doing some sort of Solomonic decision, because that's kind of, I think that's what they're going to do on some level, no matter what. But if they really just say, nope, done, that's going to be the first really big thing where the court told Trump to stick it up his rear end. And that is a big deal. That's a big deal. Let me put it this way. It's a much bigger deal than the compromise being worked out in the Senate tonight. It's a much bigger deal.
Yes, the tariff decision would be a much bigger deal than the shutdown, or would have a larger, more impactful outcome on people's political opinions and how they vote. I think that's hard to argue with. Also, by the way, he has proposed giving $2,000 to every American who can use it, not rich people, he wrote, apparently. But I also read that this is like the third time he's tried to do this. That would need congressional approval. He can't just do that one, I guess. But my first reaction to that was $2,000 is nothing in terms of it'll mean a lot for a lot of people, but it's not going to change someone's opinion on him. Like, I don't think that's in this case with him.
He's too obvious and too crass in every single thing he does. Right. I think that, if they figured out some way, well, hey, we're going to help your healthcare by giving you a $2,000 write-off every year. I think people actually like that better. I think it's like, hey, I'm throwing you it's like the rich guy throwing a $20 bill at you as he walks to a restaurant to get a seat.
Okay, go ahead. But I mean, that's not
You know
what
what I
they're.
mean? Like it's just so obvious, bro. It's such obvious bribery that someone who's on the fence about him doesn't get 2 grand and go, great, I'm going to vote for this guy forever. Right.
Well,
And
you're talking about the difference between a subsidy, a tax credit, or just a check for $2,000.
right. And I think that Trump wanted to just give everybody 2 grand.
Right,
I
but
think and by the way, if you're a fiscal hawk, you think this is crazy. If you're a Democrat, you're like, this is bullshit. This guy's giving away money without congressional authorization.
well, if
It's
you're
good that everything he does, he just doesn't know how to. And talk about how ICE and how they're treating everybody who they're trying to deport. They just have no political subtlety at all, and it in the long run hurts them.
okay, let's talk about the Democrats.
Mhm.
Let's talk about last Tuesday's elections. I've been waiting all week. By the way, this is the immediate analysis after an election is interesting, and large parts of it are accurate. They debunk things about polls and conventional wisdom about trends and politics and candidates and campaign tactics often. But a lot of the reactions, at least the data, relies on exit polls, which is exit polling, which is basically just talking to people as they walk out,
Yeah.
which is not exactly a science. I'm interested in the week after, and I'm always interested in your analysis. But I feel like, given almost a week now since Tuesday's election, you get all kinds of analysis out there and decide, what you think is probably the most impactful trend lines. And obviously, there were a lot of different elections. It would seem that the primary conversation amongst Democrats right now is, what does this mean for the midterm elections? How should Democrats wear it? What does it mean for different Democrats in different states? We're talking a lot about New Jersey and Virginia governors and New York City's mayor. And most importantly, the one most interesting to me is Democrats are having to be asked how they feel about a Democratic Socialist in New York City. I finally just want to say I hate all that conversation. I hate it. I hate the word socialist and Democrat. I hate it. I want to argue with everybody and talk with everybody about DSA, their ideology, and their policies, which, by the way, is a great argument to have, different from what's happening on the right, which is, should we go full hoods off? I want to debate free buses. And I want to debate all these of Mamdani's policies, which are basically Bernie's policies, which are AOC's policies, and
FDR's policies, by the way.
And most importantly, FDR's policies, meaning they aren't radical at all. And in all of Europe, they would be seen as, they already have much of it. And lastly, they live longer and they're happier. So, like, that's my argument in general.
It's not the American way, Pete.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, and also I would make a capitalist Republican argument for things like free buses. And I would say those free buses are going to save money, so the rider can buy your bullshit or can get to your job where you're not paying them enough anyway. Everybody's a winner. It's actually it's a stimulus. It's a financial stimulus in whatever economy, whatever city does that, means everybody wins. And when everybody wins, everybody wins. When we do good, we all do good, kind of thing. And so that's all I got to say. Basically, I do want to talk about the Overton window all the time and what it means to be what policies to support and the Democratic Party, where they should be. Take it away. What are your reactions to the election and anything I've said?
So I think this was one of the most consequential elections in many years. And the reason is that the Democrats won handily in, a broad spectrum of places. But the more important thing is they won deeply. They won Onondaga County. They took control of the county government.
Whoa, buddy.
Right?
That's my county I grew up in.
And it's been run by the Republicans for ages, and the Democrats completely crushed it.
No, you mispronounced it. Onondaga. It's a Native American tribe, and you butchered it. And
what's the correct pronunciation?
Your hostility towards the natives is clear.
I've always, I've been very rough on the natives. Yes. Whatever that bullshit county you're from in New York, Dems just like crushed there. They crushed in Luzerne County, which that's the right way to say that, in Pennsylvania. My hometown in New Jersey, Democrats swept. School boards in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, they won 25 out of 27 or 20. They won 24 out of 25 school board seats. In the House of Delegates in Virginia, the Democrats picked up 14 seats out of 100 seats. They're now at 64 seats. They are higher than they've ever been in the modern era and in control of that House. This was like an election that at the top of it, you had Spamberger, Mikey Sherrill, Mamdani in New York. All three different candidates, three different states, three different styles. Their politics is different, all three, but they all worked on affordability being their main thing. Trump sucks, and he's making your affordability worse, and here's what we're going to do to help you with it. That message is obviously what Democrats need to go with in 2026. It's so obviously that. Trump had managed it because of what he's doing with ICE and the way that they're treating Latinos in the U.S. There are places where Trump, pushed up in New Jersey and Passaic County where he won like a majority of the Latinos in those towns, and now he is like back down to G.W. Bush numbers. Like Latino vote just evaporated. The youth vote, where Trump made all these gains the last election, evaporated and went the other way in this election. So the coalition that Trump looked like he was starting to create for the GOP just completely blew up in this election. Completely blew up. And I think that it's a big deal. I think that and again, Democrats, it's so funny. We always fuck up. Wait a minute. We don't always fuck up. We just destroyed these guys on Tuesday. And we destroyed it not by any sort of like the online thing, the online obsessions that we hear about, you and I read about on our computers every day. It was real basic, like Mamdani. Yes, I'm a democratic socialist, but you know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about buses. I want to talk about, one of his big things is like the police in New York are overworked because they get pulled into all kinds of situations that is sort of outside of their job description. So, like the police union members were quietly in favor of Mamdani because he was saying, you no longer have to go to every mental health issue. I'm not talking about the union leadership, but there's a lot you can find reporting where police union members are like, wow, this would be great if I don't have to go to every mental illness situation that happens.
The proposal for a long time that police, law enforcement, a lot support is that when there's a call surrounding an issue with someone
non-violent, non-criminal,
suffering from a mental illness, and even if they are violent, but you could bring a cop with you. But the tip of the spear on those calls would be mental health experts, social workers specifically, and cops don't want to react to people who are having a schizophrenic episode or withdrawal from a drug or something, and they shouldn't. And so that proposal is popular with a lot of people. That idea, yeah. But I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, right. I mean, and my point though is that Mamdani wasn't walking around going, we really need to talk about Marx's opinion of the, Brumaire effect or event in Napoleonic. He's not talking about class warfare or social structure or his theories of macroeconomic whatever. He was talking about buses. He was talking about interaction with the police. He's talking about schools. And even if you don't agree with him, it's all really like small ball, day to day. Like, how do I make average person's life in New York better? And the bigger thing that he did, it was like a joyful campaign. His campaign was like, New York is fucking great. Let's make it better. And it's like polar opposite of Trump, like talking about real issues for real people, but in a happy, engaged, positive way. I think for Democrats, it's really easy. I mean, you go out there, and a state like Virginia, Spamberger was doing this in Virginia. She was saying, this guy doesn't care about moms. He doesn't care about their kids. He doesn't care about your job. And all we need to do is get these bums out of here. And we can do something good for the state of Virginia. Well, it would be like a less of a big deal if the statewide races Democrats won. But to get back to what I started saying in the beginning, it was a deep election. It went all the way down to like school board votes. And as you know, because you've dealt with school board fights, that is the real like vox populi. You see people at their best and ugliest at a school board meeting. And if the national political vibe right now is that anti-Republican and that anti-Trump, and it's penetrated that deeply, then I think we're looking at a real proper tsunami in 2026 again. I really do.
What do you think of the question Democrats like Pete Buttigieg I just saw are being asked by anybody and everybody, wherever they appear. Now, everybody's having to answer their thoughts on Mamdani, or more importantly, Democratic Socialists and the ideology. It's been really interesting to hear and see Bernie and AOC and others talking about it. But what do you think of, obviously, of like a Pete Buttigieg or even an Abigail Spanberger or Mikey Sherrill? I don't know what they were asked or what, but anyone who's considered that doesn't identify as a Democratic Socialist. I don't use these terms moderate and anymore, or progressive. Like I'm trying so hard not to, because I think your definition, not you, but viewers, listeners, and mine is wildly different. And I desperately want to try to reframe the conversation everywhere I go to make sure people understand the point I already made, which is this shit isn't radical. If explained well, the vast majority of Americans, including those who are not political, if you just explain it to them, I would argue that's true of most progressive ideas and policies. If you just explain it to them real easy, like nice and easy, they'll be like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't I want to do that?
Well, so I think that what you're sort of identifying is that all of these, like, Republicans are going to try to put other Democrats on the spot about Mamdani.
And by the way, the economic trends for this generation of Americans, for young people, it isn't. I think that's the biggest mistake that people our age and older are making. Democrats, I'm not talking about Republicans even. I'm talking about like criticizing these ideas, like, it's like giving away, making up school loan forgiveness, things like that. Like people our age, if you're not paying attention, have no idea how hard it is and how much worse it is. You can't buy a house. You can't go to college. Like people are desperate for solutions, but people our age and up, or don't realize how bad it's gotten, and they should. There's no excuse. So sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So I would just say, I mean, it's easy for Democrats to deal with this. You basically say, look, New York gets to vote for whoever New York wants to vote for. But if you think he's too much of a socialist, maybe you should rethink, like, voting for a plutocrat like Donald Trump, supported by absolute insane rich guys like Elon Musk. Like, if you don't want that, then maybe we shouldn't have these maniacs who are just money grubbing scumbags who are looting the federal government in charge. Because if you have those people, you get stronger left-wing parties out of that almost automatically. Sure. And so I think it's, Republicans are like, yes, this could be great. We're going to have, Mamdani as a symbol. I don't think it's going to work very well. I really don't.
Yeah, I'm tending to start to agree, just based on, I don't know, it's like weird too. It's like, oh, New York's politics, New York City's politics aren't Michigan's politics. I'm like, that's just because they haven't been explained well to Michiganders.
But you're not going to have, like, some Republican, guy sticks his microphone under your nose and asks you the question as a gotcha. You're not going to be like, let's sit down and have a nice conversation about socialism. You just have to have that immediate quip to knock them out of the park with.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, like, just in general. I'm talking about for Democrats. I'm saying that Democrats are distancing themselves, especially Senate Democrats, for example, or people running Senate, campaigns. Democrats running for office for this next cycle or anywhere else. My town, they tried to connect my town councilman to Mamdani. He had to, like, run from it. And I mean, I would absolutely embrace Mamdani and his policies and be like, listen, I don't know what you mean by democratic socialist necessarily, but which of his, like, what specifically about him or something has he proposed?
It's not a very powerful wedge issue. And again, it's not powerful because there's nothing really there that's all that terrifying. I mean, the one thing about Mamdani, right, and the only thing that I've heard of that he talks about, he wants to weaken the magnet schools in New York, and I think that's a bad idea. But that's kind of it. After that, I go,
I don't know. I don't know his arguments about that, but
yeah, I mean, I haven't even gotten that far into it to, like, really suss it out. But it's like, on the face of it, I kind of go, that doesn't sound great. But everything else he's talked about is, like, real basic stuff, like make mass transportation better, make the police better, make the, public housing better. Like, all of this is really, really simple stuff. And the interesting thing, by the way, about that election, did you watch much of Curtis Sliwa?
No, I mean, a little bit.
So he's a nut and his politics are crazy, but he's an anti-Trump, old school New York conservative. And his critiques of Trump and of our friend Mario, I almost said Mario Cuomo, I'm sorry, of Andrew Cuomo were amazing and excellent. And they're I would recommend people they should watch them because he just eviscerated those guys in that campaign. And I think I think that it gets at like how Mamdani couldn't even get a lot of venom. Like Sliwa couldn't even get much venom up about Mamdani. He's just a likable,
It's funny because
guy, and that's it.
It's interesting that you came back to, after everything I was talking about, like policy, and you, of course, commented on that, but your conclusion was, and you said it again, he's just a likable guy.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's the easiest thing to talk about because it's what I do. Try to be a likable guy to a certain extent. Certainly try to be principled and stuff. But when you're selling a political campaign or a show, when you're doing stand-up comedy, you're trying to be a likable guy. And so I relate to the impulse, but more importantly, I feel like, I guess I'm trying to give myself credibility for being, for recognizing that or giving it value. But more importantly, the point I'm trying to make is politics is all about that.
Well, look at Trump. Trump was the most successful TV show in America for years, and that show presented him as an incredibly successful and sharp businessman.
Well, the thing,
and but again, that Democrats often don't realize where his appeal comes from. He managed via that show to create a persona that a lot of low information voters like.
I agree with that. I agree with that, but it's interesting to bring him up. The Trump's likability, I believe, I don't think he's a likable guy. I think that the reason why I think the reason that the people who like him is because they're also overwhelmingly assholes, and him being a dick to people, to everybody, the people they want them to, and that allows them to feel seen and also be a dick, including being predatory to women and so on. Like, they like the idea that they can be bullies and be proud. They like that, but that's not generally what we refer to as likable. But I also think that a lot of Trumpers, even Trumpers, would look at Mamdani and be like, I hate his policies, but I understand why people think he's a likable guy.
Mamdani's got more of the Obama level charisma, the Obama style charisma.
And one of Obama's chief architects, and what's his name? He's written a piece and talked to, I think, Mamdani. Mamdani's brought him on to tell him how to not lose the momentum the way Obama did, apparently.
Bernie did that too for them. He went in and said to Mamdani, what are you doing in the first 100 days? Right. And I guess did not hear the answer he wanted. And he was like, you're going to get murdered in the first 100 days unless every single day you're doing something that it attracts the attention of the city and makes people feel like there's motion. Otherwise, they'll just crush you in 3 months.
And Obama's talked to Mamdani as well, probably gave him his. So the point being, he is the most charismatic politician, arguably, we've seen in this generation. I would argue that AOC's up there as well, but I do think she's become more of a lightning rod because of how she's been painted. I also believe that she's quite a fiery, like a fighter, but so is he. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I would directly compare both them to each other, but she
was first, and that's a problem. And a woman, but she had to break that window herself first, with nobody else of her stature ever having done that before. And I think that she's paved the way for him in a lot of ways.
Yeah, her or someone like Jasmine Crockett, like they're women, and people just don't like women. They don't like strong women. A lot of liberal Democrats who don't even know it don't like it. They're turned off by it.
True. I've always been down on women personally. Yeah.
You've always gone down on women?
Always.
Not always. One time you said his wife is sorry. He didn't say that. No, you and I do not have that. I don't think you or I have that issue in any way. I think you and I do whatever we can to both support and empower. We think strong women in our shit should lead. in all sectors of life. So that's fine with us. But
I'll give you an anecdote, a very quick anecdote about, I think, how society still sees women.
Sure.
There's a big real estate women's group, commercial real estate women's group in many cities. They have a very large chapter here, and I go to their dinners, and I am typically the only man there.
Yeah, it was like me at
They're
the
open to
pizza.
everybody. Anyone can go. By the way, I hope my competition's not listening to this because it's bizarre to me that they're not there. But I mean, I go to it's a business thing. I go because hey, there's tons of people who make decisions that help me make money there, so I'm going to go. But the fact that it doesn't even occur to most of the men in my industry, any of them at this point, that that's a really good place to be, I think is pretty eloquent.
Yeah,
About
yeah,
the world.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me, but it also is pragmatic, makes perfect sense. So the idea that you have women leading is
Fine by
a lot
me.
Good politics too. They do a better job, arguably, in politics too, at a lot of different reasons.
I think my wife does a better job at virtually everything she does that compared to me.
Yeah, I generally have no problem with that. Those sentiments. But anyway, Mom Donnie is very likable and ran a unique campaign and harnessed social media in a way that other progressives have done. Again, AOC's done.
But it was way more engaging, creative, interesting. Like I watched a lot of his ads, thinking, man, if people aren't studying this and trying to find candidates who can do what this guy's doing, they're crazy.
It's interesting. What do you say to the fair criticism of someone running for office, in this case, to run one of the biggest cities in the world, that does not have executive experience running anything? He's had his jobs have been in arts and entertainment, and he's an assemblyman, and he's been an organizer and so on. But does that matter? Because what doesn't matter?
No, it does matter. It's going to be hard for him at times. Maybe he is just preternaturally talented at it. But there's a lot of things that you're going to have to compromise a lot. And
you would imagine like someone like Bloomberg, that was his only quality, because likability didn't exist for the guy.
Right, but he actually was very effective at the job.
Yeah, because he was arguably because of the career that he had, and probably because he had so much power with that amount of money. You kind of can, you can.
Oh, there were times where Bloomberg just paid for stuff, right? I mean, that's just insane.
Like, you don't want to do free buses? Fuck it, I'll pay for them.
He did something like that, and I remember thinking, God, that's tens of millions of dollars, and he was just like, chump change, pulled it out of the cushion.
Well, that's
right?
the real difference. I shouldn't have mentioned forget Bloomberg, but his
not having. Blasio is a good example of someone who'd never really run a lot, and he did a pretty bad job. Adams did a bad job, even though he ran a good chunk of the police department. I don't think that you can necessarily. It's not necessarily required that you have run big things that you suddenly are good at running a big thing. I've seen people do it, but generally speaking, it's not going to be the nuts and bolts that kill him. It'll be what I started to say, like you have to make compromises, but you have to make the right compromises. And that can be really hard to do, hard to figure out which compromises to make if you've never done it on this scale before, right? You don't have any history or any experience with it. And it's going to be a tough thing. I think it's going to be a really tough thing. And by the way, I think he's going to have the police department basically, or the leadership of the police union, to be clear, pretty much revolt and try to make things as hard for him as they can. And that's going to be a real fight. If he wins it, he's golden. But if he doesn't win it, he's a lame duck, just like de Blasio was. And that's going to happen pretty fast.
Yeah. What's the fight about?
Oh, the police union is incredibly conservative, and they want a Giuliani back in office. And the New York police is 40,000 men, 50,000 men. It's gigantic. And they have tons of ways to squeeze you. And they will try to squeeze Mamdani as hard as they can, see if they can control him.
Right. See if they can control him.
They literally like leaked details about de Blasio's family as a way to threaten him. And that's pretty amazing.
And they turn their backs to him.
And they were, I mean, If the police department in almost any other city tried to do that, they'd all get fired, and the mayor would, hire new cops. But in New York, it's just not possible to turn that boat around very easily. So he's going to
51,
have a tough
51,
fight there.
51,000.
51,000. Okay.
All right. What else? Did we get to everything? This has been an hour.
I think we did. I think, and by the way, I think Ukraine is winning a little more every day.
Just say we didn't get to any foreign policy. We didn't get to Russia, Ukraine. I mean, if I was going to ask anything, because I've been paying very little attention, obviously didn't get to the Middle East. But Jesus, it does seem like, I don't know what's going on Venezuela, but it would seem like Marco Rubio really wants a war. And I mean,
I will tell you, they're talking about doing kinetic ground strikes, meaning putting troops on the ground to quote unquote attack drug dealers.
They're talking about snatching the president of Venezuela. They're talking about like Noriega.
I'll tell you something. It's going to be an entirely different war than anything the U.S. has fought. Not because Venezuela can't be beaten, but you're going to start seeing drone strikes on American troops. You're going to start to see, American troops trying to deal with massive unrest.
I don't think it happens.
I don't think it does either, but I think they could easily stumble into it. They're doing all the dumb things you do that lead you to mistakenly get into war. By the way, they're literally using some of the phrases that were used in the yellow press that led us into the war in Cuba against Spain, the Spanish-American War. It's like very similar sort of talking it up so much that it kind of develops its own momentum. And it will be a real disaster, absolute gigantic disaster if it happens. So, yeah.
I don't think it's happening. In the meantime, they're just going to keep assassinating, murdering.
Let's say murder, yeah, because it is murder.
Murdering guys on boats that they are without making the case to the public.
Yeah, I highly recommend listening to Rand Paul on this topic. He is an absolute lunatic most of the time. But on this topic, he is super crystal clear and really good about it. And he says, like, you're not trying anybody. You're not even bothering to figure out if the boat is like full of people who are, refugees. You're just plowing the boats. He goes, and that's just murder. That's it. It is murder. No question.
It should be appalling to everyone, but no one cares because they just think they're running drugs and they, you should just be able to kill criminals, I guess.
Yeah, but what's going to happen is that the head of the Southern Command quit.
Yeah, I saw.
And the reason he quit is is Trump, when he leaves office, just going to try to pardon, I pardon everybody?
Well, right? You can't count on that, so you might want to quit.
That's my point, is that there's going to be
that's exempt.
10 years from now, there are going to be Americans sitting on the dock in The Hague for what they did in the Trump administration.
Well, maybe not, but that'd be nice. But
that put a pin in it. Put a pin in it.
Well, since you brought it up, what would you say about Dick Cheney's legacy?
George Bush would have been a pretty good president if Dick Cheney had not been his VP.
Oof, that's a rough take.
And because Cheney was frozen out in the second term, which is when Bush was doing things like PEPFAR, which saved 25 million lives. Right. And I hated Bush as president. I absolutely hated him. So I'm not some crypto Bush lover.
But you're only focused on foreign policy here, it would sound
like. No. I think I think Bush sucked in very many ways, but Cheney made him suck way more than he would have. And Cheney was very much a unitary executive guy, and we set our own reality. That's one of his phrases.
Do you think that
resemble?
Based on the fact that he was somebody who believed in this idea of unitarian executive, which Trump now is embodying, because the Supreme Court apparently agrees with that long-held ideology of some on the right, for sure. As a result, it would seem that Dick Cheney, I guess his biggest legacy was he paved the way for Donald Trump, and also he turned against Trump because Trump, came for his daughter. Maybe she did the right thing, but
I think she unequivocally did the right thing.
Sure,
I think her politics sucked too, but she took a much bigger risk than her father
did. For sure, but more importantly, there's like a million dead people because of Dick Cheney.
Oh.
And what I've been saying is if you put aside the Rockies that you don't care about, but you just look at the generation of veterans, warfighters, whatever you want to refer to them as, to appeal to everybody. He destroyed a generation of veterans. I mean, with from suicide to addiction to divorce to anything I want to say, like many of those who served, especially in Iraq. But
if Dick Cheney is not vice president, the war in Iraq doesn't happen.
I can't.
No questions. In fact, by the way, if Dick Cheney is not vice president, no one remembers this except me because I'm a nerd. But when the Bush people were doing the transition with the Clinton people were saying, "Watch out for terrorism," and the Bush people, led by Cheney because he was their big national security guy, were saying, "Oh, that's bullshit. We have to worry about medium range missiles and proliferation." And the Clinton guys were like, no, that's not a big deal. You need to be talking about UBL, about these terrorists trying to get in the country and do all these things, do these like spectaculars, these big attacks. And Cheney basically was like, that's stupid, and blew it off. And they took their eye off the ball. And if they had really been doing what the Clinton people had been doing, 9/11 maybe doesn't happen, or doesn't happen as badly.
Maybe 9/11 doesn't happen if Bush isn't elected, but also Iraq, it's an important point.
Iraq definitely doesn't happen.
Iraq does not happen without Dick Cheney, because Dick Cheney was one of the horsemen of the long-held project.
And so his legacy is bad and will be bad and will never get better. He'll go down as a Kissinger-esque figure who did more damage than he fixed.
Do you think some people think, and I don't know if I do or not, but that Henry Kissinger held the door of hell open to Dick Cheney? Do you think that?
Wait, is Kissinger dead yet?
Come on.
Is he dead? I'm blanking.
Really?
Oh, Kissinger is dead, isn't he?
Didn't you get out in the streets?
Yeah, no, I did. I totally blanked for a second.
Weren't you at my party?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, well, I'm recovering from my party last night, so yeah, apologies.
At Kissinger party?
Yeah.
Do you think welcome?
I don't even think I think Kissinger is like too fucked up for hell. Right? Like, or he's giving lessons, like Kissinger's just the worst.
He created an alternative hell.
Yeah. Like, the devils were like, sorry, God, this guy's too much for us. You gotta, yeah, I, by the way, I think Kissinger and Cheney really didn't like each other.
Oh, that's
so hopefully they're in the same torture room together for eternity. That would be fun.
Bill B in DC, another wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for an hour of your time over it. And we really appreciate it. I always love getting your perspective on all these things. So you do not think that the Washington football team will name the stadium Trump Stadium? You don't think they're...
Well, let me put it this way. Would you, if you paid, I think they're putting up $3.7 billion.
Yeah.
If you paid $3.7 billion for a new stadium, and the money they paid for the team, which is billions more.
Who's they? The owners?
Yeah, the owners.
The conglomerate of...
Yeah. Nice guys, actually. They're very nice guys. They grew up here.
I love when people are like, "Oh, these super fucking wealthy fuck, they're nice." That to you.
I've had some experience with them. I think they're very nice people.
To you, they're nice. Let me at them. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I don't think you spend, say, $8 billion altogether, and then put the name of the most hated person in your town on your stadium. That's a pretty... And by the way, the deal is done. The ink is dry. They don't need anything from Trump to go ahead. And there's nothing Trump can legally do to stop them. So I think they're just going to say, Donnie, that's great. You want to come to the game and talk? I mean, watch the video, folks, of the Commanders game. You have never heard a crowd boo like that. If I had the kind of money that people have to put their name on something, and the vast majority of those people, like the Koch brothers and others in Syracuse, there's a guy named Tom Golisano, Western New York billionaire, and he might be dead, but in Syracuse, there's the children's hospital wing is the Golisano Children's Hospital. In New York at the Met, it's the Koch brothers wing of the Museum of Metropolitan Art, or whatever it might be. You put your name on certain things for... I think it's the most cringy thing in the world. If I had $1 billion, I would name something after someone that never got any credit. The idea that you would put your name on something, even a good thing like a children's hospital,
is bizarre to me. It looks
This is your submerged Catholic heritage coming back to you, because the whole point in the Catholic Church to giving money is to do it so your name is not attached to it. Because if you give money with your name on it, that's just ego. That's not charity.
I understand that, but I would argue that that is a kind of underpinning of a lot more philosophy than just Catholicism. That being said, it's a good idea. It's a ridiculous idea. So is that before I let you go, what is it like to say I want my name on something?
Oh, it's a flex. It's a power flex.
Name that football stadium after me.
Which, by the way, he didn't pay for a penny of. He didn't make the deal happen. He has no credit to be garnered here.
What kind of how do I want to say that to like a MAGA person? Like, how do you feel about would you ever want to name something after yourself?
Well, MAGA people think that that when he names it Trump, that's their glory. They really do feel that way. They're Trump is making America great again.
One more philosophical question. What do you believe about the idea of having a legacy? Like, I know some really decent people in my life that say, I just want to leave a legacy of whatever to my kids, or I want to be remembered as blank. And I don't think you should have a desire to want to be remembered. I don't think that should be think that should be an impulse or incentive to be for anything. Like, if you, my answer to that question would be like, I want, while I'm alive, like I want people to think this way of me and that I did this for this or that reason. But like, I don't care what I leave behind. Like, I don't care what I leave behind. I mean, I'm dead.
I think the poet Keats on his grave, on his gravestone, it says, "Here was one whose name was writ on water."
Okay, so yeah, I like that.
And I think it's a beautiful statement. By the way, Keats, it's ironic because Keats is like incredibly well known still. But I think my legacy would be,
I want to write my name in
an old man talking to his kid. He says, "My father was a funny guy and a decent dude," and that would be enough for me.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, but I want my kids to think that now, and I guess it matters after you're gone. But
yeah.
Matters more what they think of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I want my kid when he's 30 to still want to hang out with me.
That's different. That's a completely different question.
No, but it's like that if you're saying like it doesn't matter after you're dead, but the way you get your kid having good and kind memories of you to pass on to his kid, by being totally down and cool with your kid when they're 30 and when they're 50 and when they're 5.
I guess I don't think about my daughters passing down something from us to their kid. Like, I hope they pass on all kind of good things. I don't know where they come from. If they come from me, great. If they come from Val or any other experience or person in their life, great. But I mean, I fully agree with.
Okay, how about this? Let's turn this around a little bit. A good legacy is raising a really good person.
Well, sure, but
giving your kid the tools to be a good person.
I agree with that, but since my daughters are 18 and 20, and I think I've mostly accomplished that, and I feel amazing about it, I think the next phase for me and any other parent who feels that way is to be a good person with all the other people in your life, like with strangers and shit. And I fall down on it all the time. I'm saying that should be the effort. That should be the goal.
Maybe my legacy, I'll try to get skinny without Ozempic. Maybe that's an idea.
Why don't you just do it?
Well, I've been trying to do it, but yeah.
Ozempic. Ozempic.
Without it.
Why don't you just use it?
It's so like, it's such a cliche. It's like, and the metaphor of it, that you're really not doing the work to lose weight. You're just jabbing yourself in the belly once a month.
Yeah.
For a cool $175, 12 times a year. Like, it just seems.
Yeah, I would disabuse. I will give you permission and disabuse you and anybody else who's trying to, drop weight, because I understand that intimately. I understand discipline with eating and exercise and making healthy choices, but our worlds make it really, really hard to do a lot of that. And the way we feel about ourselves when we can't, it's just like, I don't know. I'm all for a shortcut for losing weight or fighting depression or anxiety, as long as you're, trying to do all the other things too. But like, a lot of these drugs are miracles for people's lives. So,
I speak only for me.
yeah, but it's like going back to like, I hope that when my kid's 30, he's how old now?
Who, Finn?
Yeah.
13.
Yeah. So in like 15 years, you want to be healthy as you possibly can be. And the
Oh,
best.
no. I totally, I've been working out and eating right and all that stuff. But it's more just it feels like our country is full of sort of like a lot of people are on Ozempic who really don't need it and shouldn't be, probably.
Well,
I
yeah,
actually know a lot of people like that, and it kind of grosses me out. It's kind of like we're we're so short term in our thinking and in the way we live our lives, or really a lot of us live our lives, and that gets at, we'll swing all the way back to what we first talked about, of everyone going nuts about the deal in the Senate. And it's just like, you don't remember what happened last week. You won't even really remember this 2 weeks from now. It's all just this like immediate gratification. And
I hear you on all of that. I think those are fine points. I'm going to talk to Aaron Carroll on Tuesday and ask just this question. I just think that losing weight is one of the healthiest things you can do, and it's very, very hard, and only gets harder the older you get. And if there's a way to be really healthy with an injection, we do it with vaccines. I'll take that's like
also lowers muscle mass though too.
The injection. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it does.
That's not good.
Right. So there's
for me, it's almost impossible for me to lower my muscle mass because it's so
full of muscle.
Prominent.
Is it really? That's great. Yeah.
So
I've actually just switched to the idea of, I don't really care how I look per se, as long as I'm strong, I can do the stuff I want to do and I feel good.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. At this age,
I'm embracing my what my son calls my late life crisis.
That's great. I'm both. I still want to look good, and I want to be able to function at a high level, specifically with skiing.
Yeah. Mine's more, can I walk up a flight or two of stairs without getting out of breath? That's my.
Well, it's also like mobility.
Yeah. But I have realistic goals. I keep things in range, so.
Thanks everybody who was here live. It's like almost 300 people watching. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for
300 people. What are you doing with your lives that you're listening to me just natter on about?
People like you more than it's shocking. But the great thing about you is that this is not your choice to be like, you're not a pundit. You're not a commentator. I'm pretty much the only place you can hear Bill's views outside of following him on Blue Sky, which you all should. And Facebook and, just social media, but that's because he used to listen and call on my show, and it's a real meritocracy. You are, at least, like, you really cut through, and every time you're on, people like, that guy's views are views I don't hear anywhere else.
Well, this is the hangover version of me, so I hope it worked out okay. I drank a lot of beer on my back porch last night. So
but you've had enough experience at this point with drinking that, is there any way, like, did you know you'd be hungover and you did it anyway?
Yeah, I mean, I get hungover if I have 2 beers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just get easily hungover. So I just figure, but I don't like edibles. I don't like smoking. I drink beer and kind of lower alcohol level beer. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be hungover. But part of me is sort of like, you know what? It's part of the experience as well.
Sure. What is how bad is the hangover?
It's not terrible. Actually, I feel like crap when I first wake up in bed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the motivating myself to get up is when I physically feel the worst. As soon as I get up and start moving around, I start to feel better immediately. So I don't have that like 12-hour hangover, but it's just the waking up in the morning and I'm just in bed, and it's just like,
do you think you'll ever? I keep asking myself, do you think you'll ever quit drinking alcohol?
If health-wise I needed to, I would do it. Yeah. But, when I'm older, at some point, when you're 75 or 80 or something, you're not going to be drinking. You just are not. I take Churchill's sort of maxim, which is like, you make sure you get more out of it than it gets out of you. Right? Like, you obviously need to think about moderation and how often. I'm like a 1 time a week guy, basically. And so, I'm very into the idea of like, I'm not going to come home from work and pull a beer out of the fridge ever. It is purely social for me. Purely
Got it.
social. It's got to be a social situation. And I may drink 8 beers and get drunk and have fun in a social situation, but I don't get up on a Monday afternoon or, from a nap on a Tuesday night and get a beer. I think it's like very much a thing. So it wouldn't be hard for me. I have gone through years of my life without drinking. So I already know. Yeah, at one point I didn't drink for 3 years.
Wow.
Mhm.
I didn't
And it
know
wasn't that
that.
big a deal. Yeah. But it sort of, I went through phases of my life where I didn't like it and didn't do it. And then phases where I do it on the regular. So, yeah.
I love talking about these things with anybody, especially of anybody of a certain age around mine.
Yeah.
So
The creepy old fella. So, well, Pete, thank all of your listeners. They're too kind to listen to my nonsense. And
you go follow Bill on Blue Sky, and thank you everybody for watching live, and thanks for listening. And that's it. I'm going to hit end. Happy Sunday night, everybody, for those of you watching. Thank you, Bill.
here's Miss Luncha.